Okay, it's being recorded. Um, Let me make a note here to what I'll do is when I get done recording it, I'll load it up onto YouTube and send you a link.
Okay, great. And so me and Efren, just to let you know, just a little background, we're with disease control and specifically with the AIDS program office. And as you know, we're working on the ending the epidemic, the EHE
Okay.
project here with DOH. And I know you'll have examples for us and of how to, do, I guess this part of the operation planning.
Right.
But anyways, it's, I just started here a little more than 6 months ago, so I'm just getting familiar with the VMSG, and it's probably going to be my role going forward to completing this and adding information to what was in existence. But
Awesome.
background information that you provide, or at least the how to fill it out if I ever needed to, it would be very helpful to me.
Yeah.
It might be for Efren, I think so.
Well, I think after the next couple of trainings, you'll be very well delved into it and understand exactly how to update and create operational plans. And that's the fun part of the system, because you can do plans for anything. Now, I know you guys focus on your integrated plan, your EHE plans, but literally you can do plans for anything in the system. So today we're going to go through how to create an operational plan. You remember the pyramid and all the different levels. What I have done is taken out of operational plans from across the nation for public health and look at different examples at each level. So you kind of get your head around what each level look like and what the function of each level is. And then at the end, we're actually going to go in and enter a plan in the system. So we're going to use the example that we used before with tobacco cessation. And we're going to enter that plan into the system so you can see all the different button pushes and clicks and that kind of stuff. And I think you'll get familiar. And then at the end of this, there is one. This is the only place we have homework. And the homework is to go into the system and create a simple little operational plan around something. So what you might do is say, I'm going to run a marathon. So running a marathon might be your service or initiative. And then you're going to go through, how am I going to plan to do that? What is the training I'm going to do? What are the hydration stuff I have to do? All that kind of stuff. So, people are doing just fun kind of stuff, but just to get your head around the planning model more than anything.
Okay. All right. Sounds great.
Well, why don't we go ahead and get started here? We should be able to get through this in about 45 minutes today. Let's go ahead and go past our favorite little horse here. And the first thing is just to review the planning model. So the organization is Florida HIV in your case. Typically, it's the health department. Underneath that is the structure of the health department, and we'll just go back into your org right here. So HIV section is the top level group in here, level 1. And then you'll see the agency strategic plan is a level 2. Then we have a level 2 of the counties. And under the counties, you can see we have Broward. Under Broward, we have EHE Broward, and we have Duval. And you can see the numbering down the side. So that's the hierarchy. Today, we're going to work down here in the training group. So we have the training group down here, and then we have Tobacco 2024 as a group under the training group. I'm not quite sure, somebody renumbered those, but that's okay for now. It doesn't matter. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go through all these different levels in the pyramid, explain what they should be, what they look like, real examples from public health, and then we're going to go enter a plan in there so you can see all the different particular details that you'll need. So let's go back here. So that's the group screen. Each group then has a set of services or initiatives. This is kind of the bucket of plans, if you will. Each service or initiative has a set of goals. Goals are a high-level definition of what we're trying to accomplish. Then we get down to the SMART objectives, which is a very detailed description of what we're trying to accomplish. And then the activities or action steps is how we're going to get there. So again, that's the pyramid. So first thing to note is that, and if I look at your integrated plan, it deviates from this format slightly. Not the format, but the nomenclature. So in this case, you're going to see plans, and I get plans sent to me, from people all across the nation, and I look at them and they have these different nomenclature, same model basically, but the goals are called different, the objectives are called different. So what I want to do is just kind of run you through some of those examples. So if somebody hands you a plan and say, hey, put this in the dashboard, and you look at it and say, well, it doesn't match, you'll be able to look at it and say, oh, okay, I see this goes here, this goes here. So let's look at some of those examples. And again, these are from plans that I've received over the years from public health. So the first one, strategic priorities at the top, what we call services or initiatives. Strategic plans pretty much all have strategic priorities at the top. Goals, strategies, I don't care for that word in its context here as an objective. An objective is a target. Strategy is how you get to the target. So I'm a little flip-flopped on that. If you took the strategies and objectives down here and flipped them, I think you'd have a good example here. Strategic areas. Now that's a pretty good definition of what a service or initiative is. It's the bucket. This is what we're going to be working in. And then goals, the term outcome objectives, I like that a lot. It's, the objective is what is the outcome we're trying to accomplish by when. And then down here, strategies to get to the objective is pretty good. Priorities, goals, objectives, and action steps is good. Priority areas, again, yeah, good definition. Goals, I don't like strategies there, and then action steps. Priorities, goals, objectives, and strategies, that's okay. And then strategies, strategic objectives, I like that one because it's a higher level than an objective the way it sounds. So it's the bigger picture goal, so that's not bad. And then objectives and action steps. And by the way, action steps we see all over. That's kind of the definition of what an activity is, I'd say, more than anything. So those are, again, the reason I give you this is somebody's going to hand you a plan at some point in time. And I know if you go look at your integrated plan, it's going to have different nomenclature in it here. So you kind of look at that and say, okay, this really is a service or initiative. This really is a goal, objective, and activity down there. Now, I'm going to go through each level of the pyramid, starting at the group level, and just kind of give you an example of what it would look like. So I just showed you your live group, but this is kind of how a group screen is typically structured. Hold on a second, please. My computer always wants to bother me while I'm working. I don't understand. Okay, so the department typically is the highest level. It's a level 1, and the levels go from 1 to 10. Then you might have community health division as a level 2 group reporting to the department. In some departments, WIC reports to community health, which reports to the department. Some departments, WIC reports directly to the department. So if you have org admin capabilities, if you're an org admin user in the system, you can move these around real easily. There's 2 fields. There's the level number field, and there's the parent group. So if I were to change WIC from community health as the parent group to department as the parent group and change the level to a 2, it'll automatically move up there. And it's clean. It doesn't affect anything else in the system, so you're not going to lose anything by doing that. And it just gives you the ability, a lot of people move things around on fiscal year basis and stuff, so you can do it real easily. The primary plans, like your EHE plans, your strategic plan, your integrated plan, would be what we call primary plans, and they're typically at the department level, so they're kind of a level 2 plan. Community health improvement plan, same thing as a strategic plan. And then we're going to use, again, the same example we used before as we go into entering a plan, the Tobacco 2024 group. So that's the groups. Again, this is the divisions, the offices, the programs, plus what we call the primary plans, or what FAB calls the 6-pack of plans. Services and initiatives. Again, services are ongoing things. Initiatives are future programs. So I use the example of WIC being a service. It's something that's been going on forever in public health and will continue to be there. So I'm just going to go through, again, real examples that I've picked out of plans that people have sent me, just so you get an idea of what does it look like and, kind of what's the structure. So healthy moms and babies, readiness for emerging health threats, effective agency processes, access to care, behavioral health and substance abuse, population health, organizational excellence, chronic disease prevention and control, health disparities, and for today, again, we use tobacco cessation. So again, I call these buckets or priority areas. It's a container for the plans underneath it that will all roll up to accomplishing this. Next level down, goals. Goals are a high-level definition, not generally too specific. Pretty simple, typically an action verb followed by a few words like reduce the risk of infectious disease, promote safe and sanitary food establishments, support communities in building resiliency, enhance healthcare through technology, drive health in all policy agendas, reduce the risk of vaccine preventable diseases, promote public health readiness and response, promote succession planning and career growth, integrate a data-driven best practices approach, and again, reduce smoking in high schools. The takeaway here is when I say reduce smoking in high schools, that means something to everybody. That knows what we're going to do. But what it doesn't tell you at this point in time, again, is which high schools, and it doesn't tell you when, and it doesn't tell you by how much. So it gives you the big idea of what we're trying to accomplish. Now, when we get down to what we call the SMART objectives, that's where we get down to that detail of what is the exact target by when. So again, SMART, our nomenclature is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. I kind of throw out the A and the R because if they're not attainable or realistic, why mess with them? Specific, measurable, and time-based. So kind of look at that in each of these examples. So by December 2024, identify 2 or more strategies to collaboratively reduce risky alcohol-related behaviors. So specific would be the strategies. The measurable is 2 or more, and our timeline is by December 2024. So it meets the criteria. By December 2024, 80% of educators and school staff have been exposed to ACE awareness. By June 2024, provide 6 training opportunities for first responders who work with individuals in a mental health crisis. By the end of fourth quarter, all programs will have established goals, objectives, and activities to be reported on within the VMSG dashboard. And then again, reduce smoking at my alma mater, Wayne High School in lovely Dayton, Ohio, by 25% by the end of the school year. So I think if you look at these, you can see the specific, measurable, and time-based in all of them in here. Now, to get to the objective, we're going to have, again, these action steps or activities. As we talked about before, there's 3 distinct types of activities in this system. Project-based, quality assurance, and quantitative measurement. So I'm going to go through each of those, not in great detail here, but when we get into actually entering in the system, I'm going to go into great detail so you know all the different potential options in there.
Okay.
So our project-based activity, by the way, this was the original and was the only type for quite a while until we added the other ones in there. But think about it, a project-based activity is something we're going to do in a given time frame. It's a project, so it's pretty simple. Create training content and materials for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. So it's a project. We're going to create PowerPoints and videos and user guides and whatever we need to do the training. Now, every activity's got a performance measure. The project-based activity is the only one where you manually create the performance measure. So in this case, our performance measure is how do I know when I successfully completed the activity? So once the training content is created, we're done. We have a beginning and ending date. Now these can obviously be changed over time as real life happens. We're going to do team assignments. So we're going to have a team lead, team members, and that email notification we saw. We're going to have external partner assignments. And then our measurement is real simple, % complete. So how far along are we in creating the training content? And again, we'll go into more detail on all of these in a few minutes. Our quality assurance activity, it's the least used type because it's very specific in what it needs. It's repetitive. So in this case, we're saying provide 9 training sessions each month. So you set a frequency in the activity anywhere between weekly and every 5 years. And because we have a lot of information in here, we can go in here and say, I'm going to set the traffic light automatically if we get to our 9 training sessions to green. If we only get to 6 training sessions, we're going to say that's bad. We're going to call it red. And then obviously it can calculate 7 or 8 as being yellow in between. In this case, we don't have a beginning and ending date. We have a cycle start date and a frequency. So if it's a monthly frequency, we're beginning on May 1. Obviously, the end of May, we're going to be done with that cycle. Then we're going to move into the June 1 through the end of June cycle as well. So you always have a beginning and ending date, whether it's finite or calculated in here. And then our performance measure is going to be created for you. So it's going to say training sessions provided, measured monthly, and then our green, yellow, and red values. And then again, team and partner assignments, and our input metric is real simple. How many training sessions did we provide? So that's what we're going to be measuring over the course of the month here. So that's the QA activity. The third type and the second most used type, I know it's a little confusing, is the QM activity. The quantitative measurement activity is virtually identical to the project-based activity, with the one exception is that we have a target quantity. So in this case, we're going to contact all 20 tobacco vendors within a 1 mile of Wayne High School, sure they're not selling to minors. So by having that target quantity, that becomes our denominator to do calculations, and we can count anything. We can count dollars, we can count widgets, we can count car seats, whatever we happen to be counting in there. So it works out really well. And it is, like they say, the second most used type. We have that target quantity that we've set in there. We have dates, just like the project-based activity. Our performance measure is, again, going to be created because we have a little bit more information. So we're going to say 20 tobacco vendors contacted between May 1 and June 30th of 24, and we've successfully completed the activity. Again, team and partner assignments. And as you can imagine, our metric is real simple. How many vendors did we contact? So those are the three types of activities, and there's a lot of different options I'll show you here in a minute. But what I'm going to do now is build out that plan on one screen that we just saw. So this is the example we've been using. Tobacco programs for 2024 is our group. The service we selected was tobacco cessation. Our first goal, reduce smoking in high schools. Then that SMART objective, reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then the steps we're going to go through to get there. Create the training content, provide the training sessions, contact the tobacco vendors. Now, we can replicate at any level. So we might have a new service in there of I forgot the name of the other services we had in there. Or we could have another goal, maybe reduce smoking in colleges. And then under that, we would have another objective that would be reduce smoking at, again, my alma mater, Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, by 25% by the end of the school year. And then under that, we would have a set of activities. So this plan can be as big and wide as you want it to be, depending on what you're replicating at each level in here. And you can have as many of any planning element type in there as you want to have. So that is the plan we're going to be working with. Now, this is an operational plan template, and I believe you guys have a copy of this. If not, let me know and I'll send it to you. You do have that? Okay, great. So what this is the ability to create an operational plan in a Word document before you put it in the system. Some people like to do that first just because they're a little concerned about, go directly into the system. Some people like to do it here so they can send it around to their peers, get their input, make the changes, and then go put it in the system. It's not necessary to do that. It is a nice tool to do that. We're going to use it primarily because you don't want to sit and watch me type for the next half hour. So I'm going to use this to copy and paste into the system. But it is a nice tool to be able to use. But you can also go directly into the system and enter this information. And if you need to make changes, things can be edited, moved around. It's really a pretty simple way to do it here. And one of the things I do like about this particular template is the simple descriptions they put for each level, just to kind of remind you. So service initiative, what is the bucket of work or priority does this relate to? The goal, what is your pie in the sky or high level goal? The objective, specifically, what and when do you hope to accomplish? The objective lead, who lead the charge? Activities, what are the steps you will go through to accomplish the objective? Performance metrics, how will I know when I've successfully completed the activity? Activity leads, who's responsible to do and update this activity, and our dates in there. So it really is kind of a nice tool as you're just getting your mind around a plan. Now let's go to the live document here. Here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to the top and I'm going to grab tobacco cessation as our initiative. I can right click and copy, or I use keyboard shortcuts personally, Control C. I'm going to go back over to the plan here. I'm going to go down to our Tobacco 2024 group, and I'm going to go to my services tab. So because I've selected the Tobacco 2024 group, everything that I go to on the tabs to the right is going to be within that group. So you see that we've entered the plan several different times. So let's go ahead and enter a new plan in here. To do that, I'm going to hit the plus button down here, which opens up the field at the bottom. Now, the reason we do that is the field at the bottom is local on your computer. Once you hit this save button here, after you've entered the information, it takes a quarter of a millisecond or something to send it up to the server. Pardon me. Which makes it very easy to have a multi-user system because not everybody is, attached to the server directly all the time in here. Anyhow, so Control V will paste in tobacco cessation. I'm going to go ahead and put in number 5 here. I'll go ahead and save that. Now, the initiative checkbox is checked here, meaning that this is a future program versus a current program. So we're going to say we're going to be rolling out this program. Now, if I were to go up here to tobacco cessation number 1, you notice it's grayed out. And that's because this hide service checkbox is checked down here. What that allows you to, let's say that these are from past years. There's the same program, but we've completed them in past years. And I want to keep them there so I can go back and look at them and understand what we did well, what we didn't do so well. But I don't necessarily want everybody to be mecking around in there. So if you do this hide service and save it, it turns them gray. So the only people who can see them are people with a manager user access or an org admin user access. If you're a partner user or a normal user, you won't even see them up there and you can't get to them. Anybody else who's, again, a manager or admin can look at them. They can generate reports from them. They can do pretty much anything they want to do with them here. So we're down here at tobacco cessation 5. Now, again, as I'm filtering across, so from the services tab, if I have a service selected and I go to the goals tab, it's going to be the goals for that specific service. Now we have 5 of these up here. So instead of me going down and clicking on number 5 and then going back up to the goals tab, I can use the drill down arrow over here on the right. And what that does is 2 things. It saves 1 mouse click. It saves you from clicking on tobacco cessation 5 and then going to the goals tab. So if I do that, boom, it takes me to the goals tab. Now, looking at this, you say, well, how do I know that I'm on number 5 down there? Well, we have a tobacco, or what we call a cookie crumb down here. And if I roll over each of these, it gives me the kind of the definition of what they are. And you'll see number 5 here is tobacco cessation 5. So by looking at the cookie crumb, I know where I am and all the way down to the activity level here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up again here. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to grab my first goal of reduce smoking in high schools. Control C, go back over here, Control V. I'm going to paste it in there. I'm going to save it. Now, I have a couple options at this point in time. We're going to go over the notes and the data sources here in a few minutes. But the first thing I might want to do is set the traffic light. Now, if it's an initiative, that means it's a new program, which means it probably hadn't had time to get behind schedule. So probably it's going to be green. If it was an existing program and you're just putting it in the dashboard and you can say, well, it's slowed down due to whatever it happens to be, you can mark it as yellow, or it's right now at a dead stop, you can mark it red, or we've completed it, mark it as gold. So that's kind of your options at the goal level here. Now, we also have several other goals, and to add those in there, it's real simple. I'm going to copy the goal, Control C, go back over here. I'm going to hit the plus button this time, open the bottom up, Control V, and then save it. Boom. And we'll go back and grab the third one here, reduce smoking in public areas, Control C. Let's go back over to here, hit the plus button again, Control V, save that. So now we have our 3 goals. Now, again, to get back to the objective for reduce smoking in high schools, again, it's easiest just to click the little drill down arrow. It's going to take me right there. So the next thing I'm going to do is put my SMART objective in there. So I'm going to go back up to the top here and grab our first objective, which is reduce smoking at Wayne High School. Grab that one, Control C, go back over here. I can hit, again, either the plus button here or this big plus button down here at the bottom, but either one does exactly the same thing, opens it up for me. Control V, reduce smoking at Wayne High School. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now, it says that we're going to reduce smoking by 25%. The default for the objective status is percent done, meaning basically 0 to 100%. In this case, we're measuring percent reduction. So to change that, I click on the title here, and I'm going to go ahead and put up in here percent. And maybe if I spelled it right, it would be better. Percent reduction. My measurement unit is basically what appears past the field over here. You see down at the bottom, the percent. And then I can select either percent or decimal. If I select percent, then everything you see is a summary and on report, and everything will be, with percent sign, and it'll be an actual percent. If I select decimal, that means I'm counting something. I'm counting widgets, or I'm counting car seats, or I'm counting vaccinations. It won't have a percent sign in there, and it'll just be, a widget, basically, a value in there. I'm going to go ahead and say we're still managing percent, so I'm going to use the percent sign. And now I'm going to go ahead and update this field to say, hey, we're 20% reduced right now. So I'll go ahead and save that. And you'll notice the status then appears up here as 20%. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to assign the objective lead. The objective lead, in this case, is going to be the person who's going to, number one, drive us to this 25% reduction, and number two, going to update the status, typically using the real-time planning, the automated email notification. The reason nobody shows up in this window is because I'm in a test group down here, and there's nobody assigned to the group. So I can just say show all users here, and I'll go ahead and let's assign Michelle as our objective lead. So again, Michelle's job, get us to the reduction, keep this up to date down here. I'll go ahead and save that. And then you see Michelle shows up over here as the objective lead. Now, the next thing you'll see down here is we have notes field. The notes field can be one of two things. It can be just typing in a note. This is a test note, and I can save that. Or I can put a date, time, and person stamped note in there. So who put this note in when? By clicking this little button right here, and it puts a note at the very top, and I say, the date and timestamp note, and save that. So you've got lots of different choices, and the notes are just ongoing dialogue, about this particular planning element in here. So, why is it slowing down? Why is it speeding up? Why did we change the light to yellow? Whatever it happens to be, because remember, you're not typically going to be the only one looking at this particular plan element. Now, if we have a place that we can go to get this particular information, like maybe the Wayne High School webpage, or hopefully somewhere on the CDC webpage, we can look and say, Wayne High School is currently at 20% reduction. We can link that to this particular objective using the data source here. So I click on this little guy here, open it up, and we're going to today say it's the CDC smoking cessation fast facts webpage. Now, there actually is such a thing. I think you saw it in the previous training here, but I don't know the whole link to it. So I'm just going to put the CDC website in here. When you do put a link in here, it has to start with http:// or https or FTP. If you're on you can be on the internet or on your intranet. Now, if you do go into your intranet, you may have to get with your IT folks and have them open up the firewall for this coming through, because it is actually coming from an outside server in there. You can also, we've had people who put links into their file servers and things like that so they can bring up a document, a PDF or something as the data source. But I'm going to just go ahead and say www.cdc.gov as my link. And now you'll notice down here it has the description, and then it has this little link button over here. The link button, in fact, when I click on it, takes me in a new web browser window to the CDC webpage. So the idea here is, if you have a data source, why not have it at your fingertips? And those data sources can be at the goal, the objective, and the activity level. So if you think about the pyramid, you could have lots and lots of data sources in there. So this is our objective. Now, to get to the objective, we're going to add those activities. So I'm just going to click on the activities tab here. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go back and grab our first activity, which was a project-based activity to create training content. Control C, go back over here, paste it in here, Control V. And again, as I mentioned, the performance metric for a project-based activity is a manual process here. So we're just going to grab this one. Training content and materials have been created. Control C. Go back over here, Control V. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in some dates. I'm just going to use March 1 through March 31. By the way, you can type these dates in, or you can use the little calendar drop down, either one. I'm going to go ahead and save that. So this is our first activity, the project-based activity of creating the training content. Now, what you might see down here is something like this. Completed chapter 1 of 4. To me, if I do my calculations right, that says we're about 25% done. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. The default measurement for this is % complete. I'll show you a couple of other options here in a minute. Maybe the next week I go in there and say, okay, completed chapter 2, which is halfway through. So I'm going to say it's 50% done. And I'll go ahead and save that. So now we're up here, you can see we're 50% of the way through here. This field is the default, so 0 to 100%. But if I click the little wizard icon right here, every activity's got its own little wizard. First thing it says, beginning and ending date. You can put them either place, doesn't matter. But here's my data entry type. So the default 0 to 100%. I also have a choice. Let's say I'm doing the training content in a couple of days or a week, and I just want to go at the end of the week and say, hey, I'm done. I can use the complete checkbox here. By doing that, it changes the percent to a complete and gives you a checkbox versus a field to enter 0 to 100%. So what it's saying is if it's unchecked, it's 0%. If it's checked, it's 100%. So we're either on or off binary. But if I click it here, first thing you might notice is the traffic light turned to gold. The project-based activity, if it's 100%, says we're done with the project. So it's going to mark it as gold. You can, however, override it here by going back to green or something if it's something that's ongoing. We'll go ahead and save that as well. So that is the activity and the different options. There was one third option, that is the yes, no. Basically says yes here, and there's a checkbox. So if you got an activity that can be answered by a question, a yes or no, then use the yes, no. Yes is 100%, no is 0%. Next thing we're going to do is add people. So we're going to have an internal team of folks who are responsible for creating the training content. Click on here. Oops. Yes, we'll save it. Okay. Okay. Now, the reason, again, nobody shows up here is because we're on the tobacco group and nobody's assigned to the tobacco group. Any one of these little black X's up here will clear all the filters. So right now it's filtered by the group. So I'm going to clear it and just have everybody in there. So let's go down here and let's pick Melissa as our lead. So if I click the lead, it automatically sets the team member and by default the email notification. This is that real-time planning email. And then we'll pick Warren and we'll pick Marvin as team members here. So I've got a team lead with email notification and 2 other team members in here. Go ahead and save that. And here they are. So again, L is lead, blue around the L indicates email notification, T is team member, T is team member here. So that's the folks who are going to be actually getting the emails to go back in and update this particular activity. Down here is activity partners. Now, you guys don't have any partners in the system at this point in time. You will, I'm sure, at some point in time. The left side is partner organization. So it's got a bunch of information about the different partners you may be working with. Each partner organization can have multiple contacts. So I'm working with one person or multiple people in there. So I can attach either the organization or one or more contacts within the organization to the activity. And I can attach as many of each as I want to. So I can have a whole list of external partners we're working with. So that is our first activity, the project-based activity. Let's go grab our second activity, which is that QA activity here. Control C. Again, we're going to open it up with the plus button. Control V. We're going to provide the 9 training sessions each month. Now, we know that this is a quality assurance activity, so I'm going to go select that. Automatically opens up the wizard for me. We're providing 9 training sessions each month. So our frequency here, as you can see, is weekly to every 5 years, but we're going to go ahead and say monthly. I'm going to say if it's greater than or equal to 9, which is our target here, it's going to be green. And then we're going to pick a number that says, I don't like it if it's only 6. We're going to call it red. And then in between 6 and 9, it'll calculate to be yellow in here. Our metric type is just going to be training sessions provided. And I'll go ahead and save that. So now we built the performance metric. Training sessions provided, measured monthly, green, yellow, and red. Now you probably notice after we save this that the traffic light is red. The reason it's red is because it falls below 6 because it's empty or 0. So if I go ahead and make this a 7, click off of it, you notice it turns yellow, and I'll go ahead and save that as yellow. Now, in a QA activity, remember we're working with a cycle start date and a frequency. So right now it says 3/13 is the cycle start date. Probably would have been 3/1, a monthly cycle start date. So what it's asking me is, am I done with this month? And do I want to move the dates forward automatically? So I have the option of no and just leave it as it is. or I can say use the current date, which would be the same as of today, or I can say select. Let's go ahead and say select, and it's going to by default put in 4/1 of 24, which I can make anything I want. I'll leave it as 4/1 of 24 and hit OK. What it's going to do now is update the activity and move my cycle start date forward. When you want to do that is when I'm done doing the training sessions for the month, then I'm going to move it forward into the next month. So I'm measuring into the next month. If I'm not done doing the training sessions, I'm just going to say no, and I'm going to leave the cycle start date where it was in here. Now let's look at some of the other options in here. So first of all, you see the greater than or equal to are clickable. If you had something that was lower is better, like I use the example of a golf score. So a lower time would be better, or if you're running a marathon, a lower time would be better. So what you're going to be doing in here is actually putting in, you're going to take out these two numbers, clear them out completely, and then you're going to click the greater than or equal to, it'll become less than or equal to, this one will become greater than or equal to, put in the relevant numbers for your less than and your greater than, and away you go. So it just allows you to flip it around.
Okay.
Now the one other, let's see, and that was, yeah, that's pretty much the criteria for the QA activity. There's one other thing in here. I'm not gonna actually create the activity at this time, but I'll walk you through what it is, and that is this timeline. So where we created this was primarily for document management, for critical documents like policies and SOPs that have to be updated on a regular basis. So when I click the timeline, it says pick up frequency. So maybe I'm going to say it's annually. Maybe it's every fiscal year. So I might put in the beginning of the fiscal year as my date. So 7/1 of 24. And then I'm going to put in a percent to yellow, we call it. And let's say I'm going to say 90% to yellow. 90% of the year is about 11 months. So 11 months into the annual cycle, the document that I have attached, I'll go through that here in a second. I'm going to attach that policy document in there. It'll be attached to here. I'm going to have Fred as the activity lead. Fred will get a notification when it turns yellow that it's due to be updated 11 months into the cycle. Fred will be able to go in and download the document, do the update, upload the document, automatically does version control, and then start the cycle all over again. So what it does basically is remind you to update critical documents on the given time frame, which can be anything you want, and to be able to update and keep the previous versions and always have the latest version up there in here. So that's what the timeline is all about. That's fine. Now, let me go ahead and show you the document management. So at the activity level or at any level, you can attach a document. Let me, hang on a second. I'm going to go back and change those back to where we were here to our monthly cycle. We're going to take this off here. We're going to call it 9 and, oops, not 90, 9 and 6 and training sessions provided. We're all good in there. Okay. Never mind. I'll worry about that later. Okay. So now, to be able to do that timeline activity, probably it's best to have the policy document attached right to the activity. Here's document management right here. Click on that. Says let's go ahead and add a new document. Choose a file. I'll go ahead and pick something off of my little test directory here. I'll call it health and wellness.pdf. So it's got the file. I'm going to say upload the file. So what it did, sent that file up to our secure servers. I'm going to go ahead and put in here health and wellness policy. And I'm going to go down here and put in first draft. So then I got the traffic lights to use. When you're putting in documents and you're using drafts and such, a lot of people use yellow light as a draft, and you can have as many drafts as you want. And then when you get it finalized, it's a green light. And then when you release it or send it up to EFAB or whatever you're doing with it, you mark it as gold. So it gives you the sequence to use the traffic lights. You'll notice the file name is down here, the size and the date. I'll go ahead and save that. So now I have the document up there. So what I would do, if this is my policy that I'm updating, I'd go to there, I'd download the document, make my updates, upload the new version of the document with the same file name, and it'll say it's now version 2 of that same document up there. You can have as many documents as any size, any type that you want to have in the system here. So that's the QA activity and pretty much all the different variations of it. Now let's go ahead and add our third QM activity here. I'm going to hit the plus button here. Contact all 20 tobacco vendors. This is a quantitative measurement activity. It's QM. Again, our window opens up here. Go ahead and say March 1 through 31. We know we have a target number of 20, so we'll put that in here. We can do either decimal or dollars. Decimal is just widgets, whatever we're counting. Dollars is just that. It's $, couple decimal points. Our metric type in this case is going to be tobacco vendors contacted. A couple options down here. Let's start out with the enter value to add to total. Save it. So it created our performance metric, as you can see. Now down here, this is my running total. So if I say this week we contacted 5 vendors, you notice it rolls up to 5 total, calculates against the target. So it says it's 25%. Save that. Now the next week I might want to go in there and say, okay, I contacted another 5 vendors. And now it's, rolls it up to 10 total and says we're 50% complete. So that's what the add to total is all about in there. Save that. Now, if I want to go back and select the other option down here, enter a total value and save it, you notice the summary field goes away. Again, where this is maybe used is if I'm going to do all these contacts within a couple of days or a week, and I just want to go in and say, hey, we contacted all 20, calculated to be 100%, we're done with it. So those are the kind of the 2 options that you have. One's a running total, and the other one is just kind of an entry point in there. Let's see. So we've seen both of these options down here. Dollars and decimal is easy. Now there is one other option in here, and it's kind of hidden a little bit. And that's what we call a zero target. So if I go ahead and put the zero target, you'll notice that the percent calculation goes away because we have 0 denominator, and we can't obviously divide by 0. But what this allows you to do is count things. So in this case, I'm counting tobacco vendors contacted. So I don't know how many there are. I'm just going to go out and contact as many as I can in there. And I want to know at the end of the month that I contacted 20 or 25 or 30 or whatever it is. So just gives you the ability to count something going forward here. It can be the same thing with dollars. I'm spending dollars on whatever, and I can just calculate that going forward, how many dollars I've spent. So those are the 3 activities here. Now let's go back to the pyramid and walk them through there. So our group, Tobacco 2024, tobacco cessation was our initiative. Reduce smoking in high schools. Reduce smoking in Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then create the training curriculum, provide 9 training sessions a month, contact local tobacco vendors. So that is the operational planning process. Again, if you're going in and creating it, you're going to be using this model. If you're taking somebody else's plan and putting it in, you might have to kind of go back and forth with the nomenclature a little bit to get it in the right place here. But I've done that, hundreds and hundreds of times and always have been able to do that. Some people have, by the way, some people do have some weird planning models that don't, are not necessarily hierarchical, and they kind of confuse me and trying to figure out how do you ever measure on this kind of stuff. But anyhow, that's the model. So now, the homework before our next session is real simple. Create a little operational plan about something. I don't care what it is, whether it's something business related, something fun, running a marathon, planning my Las Vegas vacation. People done all kinds of crazy stuff. But typically what they'll do is under the training group, they'll have one service, one goal, one smart objective, and then ideally, if you can do 3 activities using each type of activity. So a project-based, a QA, and a QM activity, just to kind of get your mind around it. That's all we really need is about 6 training or 6 planning elements. And again, you're going to go back to the groups tab. You're going to go down here to the training group, and you're going to services or initiatives. Go ahead and add your first service, and then migrate yourself down the tabs here, and just add literally. If you got something in mind that you can do, it takes you 5 minutes to do. When you do put your service in there, do me a favor, and at the end of it, like we did, put your initials in parentheses, just so we kind of know on the next session who to go to in there.
Okay, initials and parentheses. All right.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all I had to go over today. Is this is the planning model. Everything goes into the same planning model. Once you understand the model and you use it once, and that's why I give you the homework, is so you just go in and get your hands into it a little bit here. You'll find it's really, really simple to do, and you can create plans for anything in here.
Right.
Any other thing you'd like to see? Any questions?
No, not at this time. I mean, I know, just going back to our specific, reason for this is with, EHE. And I know the previous, I guess, EHE coordinator, or HAPC, I believe filled this out for us. I mean, with, their different, strategies, activities, action steps, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, right there.
Yes.
I look, okay, so, but no, this is definitely very helpful for me. I mean, I'll talk with Efren. I mean, I know our project has been extended for a few months, and I'll talk to the state. We will continue this, I guess, and do that. But I think this is a great tool. I mean, I can talk to Lakeisha too. Like, I could use it for some of my own projects, to tell you the truth. So.
You use it for anything. There's no limit to how many plans, how big they are. And just FYI, so if you wanted to look at this complete EHE plan without navigating through the tabs, just go generate the operational plan report. The first report up here, say, no, I don't want to do anything. It's been hidden. And it's going to give you the entire report. Right now we're at the objective level. I'm going to say, give me the activity level. And then you've got, and we're going to go over all this in the performance monitoring training. So hang on a second. Here we go. Yeah, so we have, you got everything in here, as you can imagine. This little button right down here lets you save it off as a HTML file or print it or whatever you want to do with it. But they're all in there. So if you want to play with those, again, figure out something fun to create a little plan for. I'll give you the hint. The hint is that where most people don't get it right is at the SMART objective. They leave out, it's not specific enough, there's no way to measure it, or there's no time frame. So as you're doing it, think about, I'm going to win my race by 5 seconds on July 4th of 2024. That would be a SMART objective.
Okay.
And then the next one you're going to say, which kind of performance enhancing drugs am I going to take to get there? So
that's right. What do you guys have in Arizona?
I'm sure we can find something here out in the desert, probably.
Yeah. I'll use scorpion, right?
Yeah, scorpion venom. That'll do it. Okay. Well, you guys have yourself a wonderful day, and thanks for participating. Again, we will, if we haven't already, we'll schedule the training number 3. And then after that, there's a performance monitoring training, which is all the charts and graphs and reports and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no. This is very cool. I'm enjoying this. I definitely appreciate your time and your help with this. And I will probably do something race related. So
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yep. All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.